Could you please all rise for the presentation of the flags by the Blair Junior ROTC, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and Star Spangled Banner by the John Muir Jazz Ensemble. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Please be seated.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Reverend Marlene Pomeroy. I'm so glad you're here today. I'd like to thank all of the clergy and faith leaders who are in attendance this morning and who serve in the city of Pasadena. I have invited Cantor Ruth Berman Harris from the Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center to lead us in the opening prayer through a song of peace. Welcome, Ruth.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and thank you for joining. I want to take a moment to direct your hearts, perhaps to find a place in there where you can encounter your inner peace. A moment where you can close your eyes and tap into that spark that our Creator has given us as a gift when we were born, and perhaps we can take that strength from that spark of God and bring it forward as we think of peace for those who need it everywhere in the world, from every place and every corner. If you know the words, please join me.
עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
May you have a blessed day.
Good morning, Pasadena. Welcome to the 49th Annual Mayors of Pasadena's Interfaith Prayer Breakfast. I'm sure you're as proud as I am to be part of this wonderful community that embraces racial, ethnic, cultural, and gender diversity. It's wonderful to have this multitude of religious and interfaith organizations here today. They represent the values of Pasadena very well. I'd like to acknowledge local and state representatives, Senator Portantino's office, Assemblyman Holden's office, and Congressman Judy Chu's office. I also want to thank all our sponsors who've taken the time and helped us sponsor the event and make it possible for our low ticket prices. Especially want to recognize our premium sponsors, the City of Pasadena, the Singer family, and the Tournament of Roses. Also want to thank Michael Connolly and the team here at the Convention Center. They've been awesome helping us put on the event. I especially want to recognize our presenting sponsor, Westcom Credit Union. Westcom is more than just banking. They're a network of members and people in the community, employees, and they're dedicated to making Southern California a better place for all. Friends, Indeed is honored that Westcom is one of our partners. And they enable us to do together what we cannot do alone. So at this time, I'd like to introduce their CEO, Darren Williams.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mayor Gordo, council members, Ms. Reyna Grande, representatives from our host Friends Indeed, and all of our honored guests. It's our pleasure to be here this morning to join you for the 49th Annual Mayor's Interfaith Prayer Breakfast, and for the first in-person event that we've had since the pandemic. Westcom has been a proud resident of the city of Pasadena since 1983, and we are honored to sponsor this important community event. The theme, "We Are Stronger Together," rings true for us at Westcom. Our purpose is to help Southern Californians build better lives. One of the ways we act on our purpose is through our charitable foundation, the Westcom Foundation. From our 800 team members to our 200,000 member owners, we have supported the communities throughout Southern California, and in particular here in the Pasadena area. For over 2 decades, the Westcom Foundation has participated in a multitude of volunteer efforts, and we've donated over $3 million to charitable organizations and our nonprofit partners. So we look forward to sharing this time this morning, this time of learning and reflection with all of you. Thank you.
Not so tall. Good morning. So good to see so many of our neighbors and good friends. It's been a long time. But there's one friend and one good neighbor that we will miss this year. Dolores Hickabotham, who passed last December. You see, this would have been Dolores' 49th consecutive mayor's prayer breakfast. She had been to every single one. Dolores was an icon in Pasadena, a champion in civil and women's rights, family issues, and education. Seated are some of her adult children, Anne Marie and Skip, at Assemblyman Holden's table. Can you acknowledge, where are you? Can you raise your hand or stand and acknowledge? There's a special table centerpiece donated by the city of Pasadena in honor of Doris. The one thing that I will miss the most about Doris is she was always the first to greet you with a smile and a hug at every prayer breakfast. Would you please join me in a moment of silence as we remember Dolores? Thank you. I have the great pleasure of introducing Pasadena's 56th mayor, Victor Gordo. You see, the mayor and I have one thing in common. We love street tacos. Al pastor, conitas, you know, all the good stuff. Luck would have it one Friday night, I happened to stop off at one of my favorite taco places on Lake Avenue, Sophia's. As I approached the taco stand, Mayor Victor Gordo got out of his car and proceeded to Sophia's to place an order. I said, "Mayor Gordo, Richard from Friends Indeed, we're hosting your mayor's prayer breakfast in May." He proceeded to take out his smartphone and took a picture and sent it to the city's Twitter account, as you can see to my right and left. That's never happened to me before. From that point on, I grew a newfound respect for our new mayor. He knows where the good tacos are in Pasadena. And yes, Mayor, tacos are on me next time. Mayor Gordo was born in Zacatecas, Mexico, oldest of 6 children. Victor is true blood Pasadenian. Delivered the Pasadena Star News when he was 9. As a kid, as a high school, he played football, baseball, and soccer at Pasadena High School. He went on to Pasadena City College and then to Azusa Pacific. He worked as a waiter and a restaurant manager during his collegiate years. While Victor was in law school at Laverne, he worked as a field rep for then District 5 Councilman Bill Crowfoot. In 2001, that was a pivotal year for Mayor Gordo. He was elected to the Pasadena City Council and passed the California bar exam. When he's not being the mayor of Pasadena, Mayor Gordo serves as the business manager and attorney for the Laborers International Union, Local 777. He lives in District 5 with his wife Kelly and 2 children, Michael and Emma. But before I bring the mayor up, I have a friend up north that once told me how fine the city of Pasadena is. They fine you for overnight parking, they fine you for watering your lawn, and they fine you for not having a permit for a yard sale. Please join me in welcoming our 56th mayor, Victor Gordo.
He was doing so well. So let me just first off reflect on what I see today. This is the first time that we've all been together in 2 years. The first time that we've come together not just to celebrate and have breakfast, but to reflect on where we've been and how we got through it together. And as a result, I do believe that we're stronger together. And what I see today is many voices, one people. Many voices, one story. You've heard that as part of our One City, One Story effort in Pasadena. And that's truly what we see today, is a collection of many voices, many people, but we all have that common story, that human story. And now that human story is all the more closer because of what we've been through in the last few years. And we should all be very proud that we did it together. I'd like to first welcome our former mayor, I still call him mayor, codename M1, M2, Mayor Bill Bogard. And of course, former Mayor Bill Thompson, who's also with us here today. I'd like to also thank our committee who worked very hard to put this event together. In particular, I'd like to thank Friends Indeed, Richard Chung, past president, Brent Schaefer, and Joshua Grader, Rabbi Grader. Westcom, our local rock stars in the banking industry, thank you. Darren did not blink when I called and said, listen, we need to bring the community back together. We need to have it in person. We need your help. And responded immediately that Westcom was proud of its presence in Pasadena and certainly would contribute and help bring us all together. So thank you for that response. I recall at this time last year, as we all struggled in every aspect of our life, whether it was personally, financially, health-wise, we all watched as our family struggled. We watched as instability set in for each of us, all around us, with our neighbors. And at that time, I recall saying, we have to stand together. We have to face this time like no other, and it was a time like no other, and do it together. And this community responded well, and a big part of that, the people in this room and the organizations that you represent. A big part of that was our faith community, and I'd like to thank everyone in our faith community in Pasadena, not just for today, but for what you do every minute of every hour of every day to ensure that people in Pasadena are able to exercise their faith, to ensure that people of Pasadena are able to come together, and to ensure that in difficult times, you're also there to support them as they look to support one another. That's what happened during the pandemic, and I'd like to applaud and thank our faith community in Pasadena for that effort. Let's give them a round of applause. It was during that time of instability, and you all recall it, and I think that was the biggest challenge for us, is we didn't know what was before us, what was going to come. And together, we called on our faith. We delivered prayers. We asked that a better day would come as we worked together. And things are better. And because of our faith, our collective faith, and because of our joint efforts coming together to work together to support one another, whether it was city government, whether it was with our neighbors, whether it was with the faith community, whether it was with state and local government, we came together. And I'm proud to say that we've proven that Pasadena and Pasadenans are resilient, and we are in fact stronger together. And so I'd like to, again, congratulate and thank all of us who had a hand in that, because everyone in this room had a hand in that. Whether it was you were working at a food line, whether you were checking in on your neighbor, or just doing your part to ensure that the spread of the virus did not continue in this city. And importantly, when the vaccine was made available, Pasadena led the way. You'll recall we all stepped forward, stronger together, and received the vaccine. We're now over 97% for first time, and 2 weeks ago we were at 99.9%, for first time 97%, second time 97%, first time 99.9. 99.9. So I said at the time, bring me the one. Where are they? I'm confident, though, that we, in fact, are doing everything we can, and I would encourage all of you to continue to do that. As we celebrate our faith, let's also keep in mind that what a special thing it is to be able to celebrate or not celebrate a faith. That's an important component that we enjoy as Americans, that not everybody enjoys throughout the world. Let's keep in mind the role of the First Amendment to the Constitution. As residents of this great country, it's the First Amendment that says you have the right to exercise a religion, a faith, or not. And that's an important distinction. That's what makes us different in this country, and we should always recall and respect that. People often think of the First Amendment as the speech amendment, but it's that religion clause that allows us to gather today. Also, the religion clause also contained in the First Amendment that allows us to gather today and celebrate faith, and allows us to celebrate faith as we go about our daily lives every day. Too often, especially as things get better, we tend to forget that. We tend to forget that it's important to call on our faith if you're so inclined, and it's important to ensure that not just this generation of Americans, but all generations of Americans enjoy that freedom of religion. And so one of the challenges for us today is to ensure that we all remind our friends, our families, our neighbors of the importance of that First Amendment and the importance of always ensuring that it's there for generations to come. As our friend George Regas was fond of saying, former rector at All Saints Church, whoever you are, wherever you are in your journey of faith, you are welcome at this table. Think about that. Whoever you are and wherever you are in your journey of faith, you are welcome at this table. I always enjoyed listening to George because he always dropped nuggets in like that. And it was that spirit of acceptance and that spirit of welcoming that we should celebrate today and every day as we celebrate our interfaith prayer breakfast here in the city of Pasadena. Finally, we should recall that it's our faith that has served as a touchstone, not just during the pandemic, but in so many important moments in history and time. Whether it's mourning for a loved one finding solace, whether it's a war, whether it's the fight for equality or social justice, let's always recall the role and the importance of the faith community and our collective faith to help get us through that. And so, again, I challenge all of us to keep that message and repeat that message. With that, let me just say that it's an honor and it's a privilege to serve as your mayor. And you know, as someone who grew up in Pasadena, and you'll hear from Ms. Grande, Reyna, who has a wonderful story. And I asked Reyna to come and present today because I think it's a story that needs to be told and retold, because we can all connect with it. It's a story of success, it's a story of hard work, and it's a story of giving back and contributing through literature. I want to thank all of you for the honor and privilege of serving as your mayor, and I'd like to remind all of you that we live in a special place. We live in a special place that I like to call the center of the universe. And I won't go through all the reasons why, but only to give you the conclusion why. We're a special place because of the people of Pasadena. We're the center of the universe because everyone in here and the people who came before us cared about this city, cared about the people of this city, and contributed greatly to this city. Whether it was through faith, hard work, as a city employee, as a good friend and neighbor, we've all done a great job, but we have a long ways to go before we get to the point where we all want to be. So thank you all very much for being here. I congratulate all of you for your efforts in this city to help people. And I join with you in asking that we continue to come out of this recovery, out of this pandemic, and recover stronger together. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Please join us in a prayer for the blessing of our food. O God, dispel all those elements which are the cause of discord, and prepare us all those things which are the cause of unity and accord. O God, descend upon us heavenly fragrance, and change this gathering into a gathering of heaven. Grant to us every benefit and every food. Prepare for us the food of love. Give us the food of knowledge. Bestow on us the food of heavenly illumination. Thank you.
Breakfast is now served.
Since 1894, we've made it our mission at Friends Indeed to reach out and help those who find themselves on the margin with dignity and respect. We believe that giving to those in need helps build a stronger community in Pasadena. Every year, we distribute more than 625,000 pounds of groceries through our food pantry. That's 520,000 meals per year, or 10,000 meals per week, to 370 households. Our pantry is like a neighborhood market where families can choose the foods they want. And not just canned goods. We provide over 2,000 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables each week. Our bad weather shelter gives folks experiencing homelessness refuge from the winter cold and rain. We operate when needed, about 40 nights out of the year. We set up cots for 80 people each night, and our volunteers are happy to provide a hot, healthy meal and a safe place to sleep. In the women's room, we believe in giving at-risk women a space to build meaningful lives through community, boosting their confidence and self-esteem by engaging in many forms of art, writing, and self-care. And we even help with the everyday stuff, like showers, clean laundry, good food, and a place to find support and love. The results can be life-changing. Our eviction prevention and rental assistance programs help neighbors hold on to housing by providing short-term rental assistance and case management. Our street outreach team works to build relationships with people experiencing homelessness. We identify and reach out to about 130 folks every year. Our goal is to navigate them into bridge and permanent housing and give them keys to a new life. Since 1894, we've been doing together what we cannot do alone. Through compassion, connection, and dignity, we are changing lives. At Friends Indeed, we serve our neighbors in need. Join us in helping the Pasadena community. To learn more or to donate to our cause, visit us at friendsindeedpas.org.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rabbi Joshua Levine Grader. I'm honored and proud to be the Executive Director of Friends Indeed, and I'm really happy to see everyone here today. So I want to first give thanks to the committee that did this, that put this together, to Richard and to Stacy and to Reverend Marlene and to Debbie, and Araceli and Vanya, and just helping. This doesn't happen just by itself. So they've been working for weeks and weeks through the mayor's office and our staff. So really, thank you so much. And a big shout out to our staff. We have 18 staff members, so I'm not going to name them all, but they work really hard. They make my job very easy. So every day, our team gets to provide support and love, compassion, dignity to hundreds of people. You saw some of what we do in that video. So I want to share just two stories, because at Friends Indeed, it's really about the stories. It's really about the people's lives that we're touching each and every day. So the first story, 15 years ago, Sharon's husband went out to buy a loaf of bread, and that was the last time she heard from him. Without her husband's income, Sharon soon became homeless. She tried shelter after shelter, enduring things like her bed being soaked, her locker smashed, her belongings being stolen. Eventually, she gave up on the shelters, preferring solutions like riding all night on the buses or sleeping rough on the streets. The first time someone mentioned the women's room to Sharon, she didn't want to try it because after her experiences in the shelters, she, quote, didn't want to be around a group of homeless people again. But when she was persuaded to go, she found it cheerful and clean, volunteers in aprons offering hot chocolate and homemade chicken noodle soup. It took the coordinated efforts of several agencies to help Sharon put her life back together, but she says, thanks to the women's room, I got my dignity back. Second story. Sarah, age 61. She'd been living in her car for many, many months, and it was impacting her health. Her feet had swollen up so badly that when the street outreach team brought her to the office, she could barely walk up our stairs. She found herself homeless late in life. Her husband had always been the breadwinner, and when he left her, she couldn't afford to keep their apartment. But despite all of these challenges, Sarah was still taking pride in her appearance. She dressed nicely, wore jewelry and makeup. She was determined to not look homeless. Fortunately, she contacted Friends Indeed, referred to our street outreach team, and she was so desperate to not live in her car anymore that she was prepared to move out of Pasadena because, as we know, it is fairly impossible to have affordable living here in our wonderful city. So we were able to find accommodation easier for her elsewhere. The team approached contacts in Los Angeles and were able to find her a bed in a shelter, and then another contact mentioned shared living that became available, and she was able at last to move into her own permanent housing. And our team described Sarah as loving and truly grateful for the help that we were able to give. That's just two stories of the hundreds of people that we serve every day. And so it is with great honor that we get to share our work and to have so many volunteers who are in this room that help us to do what we can do. And so we're just very grateful that we can be a welcoming, loving, compassionate place for whoever comes through our doors. And if we can help them in any way, large or small, that is our goal each and every day. So thank you so much for being a part of our mission. And now it's a pleasure to welcome back the mayor, who will introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you. Let me say I tried to get around to everyone, and I apologize if I didn't. I didn't realize the room looks much smaller from up here than when you get down there. But again, I want to thank everyone for being here. You know, it's an honor to introduce our keynote speaker. And let me tell you a little bit about Reyna Grande. She was born in Mexico. Reyna was 2 years old when her father left to the United States to find work and a better life. Her mother followed her father 2 years later, leaving Reyna and her siblings behind in Mexico. In 1985, when Reyna was going on 10 years old, she entered the United States as an undocumented immigrant. She later went on to become the first person in her college and her family to step on a college campus. She attended Pasadena City College for 2 years, obtained a BA in creative writing and film and video from the University of California, Santa Cruz. She later received her MFA in creative writing from Antioch University. Now, in addition to being published as an author, she is also an active promoter of Latino literature and is sought after speaker at many colleges and universities and across the country. Her work, she includes receiving an American Book Award, the El Premio Astin Literary Award, and the Latino Book Award. In 2012, she was a finalist for the prestigious National Book Critics Circle Awards. Her works have been published internationally in countries such as Norway and South Korea. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce someone who has come so far in life through her hard work, but also has received the help and support of so many others and does it with such grace, with such elegance, And we should all be proud of the fact that Reyna is a part of the Pasadena community. When I met Reyna and asked her to be a part of this event, she graciously agreed. And Reyna, I told you that people would turn out. Here we have the Vice Mayor, Andy Wilson, that I'd like to introduce you to, Tyrone Hampton, Council Member, Felicia Williams, and even my good friends, Rebecca and Terry Cruz, who you all know. Terry's busy working next door on some show. But I told you that telling your story is important, and people would come out to hear your story. I want to thank you for making the time and congratulate you on your success, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Buenos días. ¿Cómo están? Ah, qué bien. Hablan español, mira. Thank you so much, Mayor Gordo, for the beautiful introduction, and thank you to Friends Indeed for inviting me here today, and thank you to all of you for coming out this morning and supporting this wonderful cause and just coming together as a community to celebrate together and to try to work together to make Pasadena and the community a better place for everyone. So I have some really beautiful memories of Pasadena, and at the top of my list is participating in the Rose Parade. I got to march the Rose Parade 3 times. The first 2 times, oh, thank you. The first 2 times was through the LAUSD All-City Marching Band, and the 3rd time was the Lancer Marching Band at PCC. And we were rewarded with, at the end of the route, we were rewarded with an In-N-Out burger and a Dr. Pepper. So we all did it for that burger, let me tell you. So when I was growing up in Mexico, my favorite time of the year was the Christmas season. And we have a tradition in Mexico called Las Posadas, which I'm sure Mayor Gordo knows, and he probably went to some of them himself. And for those of you who don't know what Las Posadas are, it's a reenactment of the difficult journey that Mary and Joseph undertook from Nazareth to Bethlehem and their struggle to find shelter. Las Posadas are held for 9 days leading up to Christmas Day. And every night, the neighborhood would gather in a procession, and 2 kids, a boy and a girl, would be chosen to carry the statues of Mary and Joseph. And we would go to different houses selected prior to the event, and we would be turned away from house after house and denied shelter, until finally we came to the last one on the designated route. And there, the kind innkeeper would open the door to his house singing, "Entre santos peregrinos, peregrinos, reciban este rincón, que aunque es pobre la morada, os la doy de corazón." Which translates to, come in, holy pilgrims, receive this corner of my home, which, though it is humble, I offer it with all my heart. And each night, we children would get to break a piñata, drink hot fruit punch, and get a goodie bag filled with peanuts, oranges, jicama, sugarcane, and candy. I never forgot the feeling of rejoicing at being welcomed into someone's home, of the joy of watching a door opening when so many had been closed. When I immigrated from Mexico to Los Angeles at 9 years old, there were no more Las Posadas because this tradition is not as commonly celebrated here as it is in Mexico. But becoming an immigrant and growing up undocumented in this country, I came to experience firsthand what it is like to not be welcomed, to have doors closed on me in my search for a new home and a place to belong. In U.S. society, in my community, in school, even in my own house. As you heard, I was born in Guerrero, Mexico, which is the second poorest state in Mexico, and at times, it's the most violent state in Mexico. And in fact, my city, Iguala Guerrero, is infamous for the disappearance of 43 college students in 2014. In Mexico, my family was very poor, and we were too poor, in fact, to qualify for a visa. And that's why when my parents immigrated, my father came, my mother came, and then when my siblings and I came, we came here without permission. We were unauthorized immigrants or economic refugees, which I think it's a more appropriate term. So we came here, and coming here legally was not an option. That door was closed to us by immigration policies that ignore the plight of the poor and destitute. So the only way we could come here was by risking our lives running across the border. And my father hired a coyote, and he brought me and my older brother and sister across the border. We got caught twice by Border Patrol, and we managed to make it on our third attempt, and that's how we began a new life here in Los Angeles. So soon after my border crossing, I began elementary school down the street here in Highland Park. Even though, it was a community, back in the day, it was largely a Latino community, but my school was not equipped to meet the needs of immigrant children like me. The lack of resources, the lack of bilingual instruction and properly trained teachers led to traumatic school experiences that to this day I still grapple with. By law, my 5th grade teacher had to open her classroom door to me, but that didn't mean that I was welcome. Because I didn't speak a word of English, she put me in the corner and ignored me the entire year that I was in her class. My teacher acted as if I didn't exist. And in that unfriendly classroom environment and sitting in the corner in my classroom, I felt invisible and I felt voiceless. So in school and in society, through microaggressions, discrimination, and exclusion, I was made to feel ashamed about being an immigrant, about being Mexican, being a border crosser, and being a Spanish speaker. But things were not better at home either. When my parents divorced, my siblings and I lived with my father and his new wife. My stepmother wasn't happy at having to raise my father's children. Though we lived in the same house, it was almost as if we didn't. She and my father would have dinner first, and we children after. We rarely ate as a family. She also had my father install a lock on their bedroom door. So whenever they were not home, like when they were at work, for example, she would lock the door. They also put a lock on the rotary phone so that my siblings and I couldn't use it to call anyone. And it's true, we did call Santa Claus one day when we saw him on television, and the telephone bill was very high. But still, they put a lock on the phone. Though my stepmother never yelled at us, she would complain about us to our father, who would come barging out of their bedroom to yell at us and hit us. Most of the time, my siblings and I didn't even know why he was hitting us. So outside my home and within my home, there were many doors, real or metaphorical, that were close to me. One door that opened for my family and for almost 3 million other immigrants was IRCA, the Immigration Reform and Control Act signed into law by President Ronald Reagan, which helped undocumented immigrants legalize their status. Both my mother and father became legal residents soon after, and in 1990, when I was 15, my green card arrived in the mail, and I was an undocumented immigrant no longer. Thank you. Unfortunately, the door to legal residency and a pathway to citizenship has been closed to undocumented immigrants ever since. Not only have we not had a comprehensive immigration reform in the past 36 years, but we have been trying to close the few legal pathways that are still open through travel bans and visa suspensions, policies such as Title 42, meant to turn away asylum seekers and refugees knocking on our door, especially those from undesirable countries. When I got to PCC, another door soon opened for me. I met Diana Savas, my English professor at PCC in the summer of 1994. And Donnie, can you show the picture of me and my teacher? So there's me and Diana Savas at PCC. Diana was the first teacher who told me I had writing talent. She was the first teacher who asked me about my future plans. She asked me one day, "Reyna, have you ever thought about pursuing a career as a professional writer?" She saw in me a potential and talent that I hadn't even seen in myself. Though I was an avid reader, I didn't grow up reading books by and about people like me, immigrants, Latino, brown, poor. The gatekeepers of the publishing industry are majority white, over 80% across the board. And so the door to publication is often closed to many writers of color. The lack of diversity in books meant I didn't have access to books where I could see myself and my experiences reflected in the stories that I read. The young adult section of the Arroyo Seco Library were filled with titles such as Sweet Valley High and the Babysitter's Club, with blonde and blue-eyed teens on the covers. And though these books gave me access to something I didn't have access to in real life, white middle-class America, they also made me feel like an outsider looking in on a world, on a life that could never be mine. Reading these books, I would have thoughts such as, this is what I do not have. This is who I am not. This is who I could never be. This is what I will never get to do. So because of the lack of diversity in the literature I had access to, I had come to assume that Latinos don't write books. So when my PCC English professor asked me if I had ever thought about pursuing a career as a professional writer, the answer was, no, Latinos don't write books. Then she handed me books by Sandra Cisneros, Isabel Allende, Julia Alvarez, Elena Maria Viramontes, and a whole literary world was opened up to me. Not only did Diana Savas welcome me into her classroom, she also welcomed me into her home. When I was at PCC, my father was struggling with alcoholism and a violent temper. He and my stepmother were having marriage problems, and one day he physically attacked her, and she ended up in the hospital. The police showed up at our house and arrested my father in front of me. I watched them take him away in handcuffs. The next day, I still had to come to PCC. I still had to turn in my homework. I still had to pay attention in class. But I felt that my world was falling apart, and I didn't know what to do. So what I did was I went to Diana Savez's office. I knocked on her door, and she opened it and welcomed me in. I just needed someone to talk to, someone to listen, to give me advice. But she did more than that. She looked at me and said, "Reynita, do you want to come live with me?" Diana had seen students drop out of college because of their family problems and lack of support, so she didn't want that to happen to me. So she gave me shelter. She gave me a refuge where I could focus on my studies, on my dreams, and not have to deal with all my problems at home. So she was like that innkeeper in Las Posadas, the one who says, come in, holy pilgrims, receive this corner of my home, which though it is humble, I offer it with all my heart." So thanks to Diana, I managed to transfer to a 4-year university where I honed my skills as a writer. I became the first person in my family to obtain a university degree, and I went on to turn my writing dream into a reality. I knocked and knocked on the doors of many publishers, 27 publishers to be exact. 26 of them turned me away, and number 27 opened the door to me and said, come in. And I was welcomed into the publishing world. My first book, Across 100 Mountains, was published in 2016 and went on to win an American Book Award. And I'm very grateful for my successes, but I never forget that none of this would have been possible if certain doors hadn't been open to me, if people hadn't helped me along the way. There are many little Reinas out there in the community who need someone like Diana Savas in their lives. And we can be somebody's Diana. So how can we work together to make sure that there are more open doors than closed ones? Especially for our vulnerable populations, like our immigrants and our refugees, our communities of color, our poor, our children, our students, our elderly, our homeless, people with mental illnesses or other health problems. Individually, we can all do something in our daily lives to make sure that we make others feel welcome. We can open our hearts, our minds, and yes, even our homes, like Diana once did to me. Or we can support leaders in our communities who share our same values, who work hard to provide and help create opportunities for those who need it most. Or we can support organizations like Friends Indeed, who provide much needed services to our most vulnerable through their women's room, their bad weather shelters, their food pantries, their rental assistance, and all other services that they provide. Most of us in this room have reached a certain level of success, and we all got here because doors were open to us. We benefited from privileges and from circumstances, beneficial circumstances. And it is our responsibility to keep those doors open and to open new ones as well. So I will leave you with this quote from Michelle Obama that touched me deeply from her speech at the National Convention many years ago, but I think it's still relevant today. And she said, "When you walk through that doorway of opportunity, you do not slam it shut behind you. You reach back and you give other folks the same chances that helped you succeed. So let us keep opening doors and making sure we help others get through as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
So as I thought, incredibly inspirational, so thank you. We have just a few gifts of appreciation, one from Friends Indeed and one from the city. So in the women's room, art is incredibly important, and it is a way not only to express the ladies' feelings, but to give them an outlet for creativity, something that they don't often have in their lives. And so this is an original piece that we'd like you to have, and we will send it to you, but to have you as a reminder of we're trying to open doors, and art really opens a lot of doors for our women.
And Reyna, before I present this to you, let me just say, you've all heard me say that I believe Pasadena is the center of the universe. You know, whether it's learning about the universe at Caltech or exploring it at JPL, being a part of Art Center College of Design that designs more than 50 of the cars in the world. We have the parade, not a parade, the football game, not a football game, and it's played at the stadium, America Stadium. But I've always followed it up with this. Those aren't the reasons that Pasadena is the center of the universe. The reason Pasadena is the center of the universe is its people. People who, one, take the time to help others, and that's what each of you do today, and that's what today is about, is taking the time to have faith in people, who maybe didn't start out in the same circumstances that all of us did, and to work to improve their working conditions. And then people who accept that help, like Reyna, and then reach back to help others. That's what makes Pasadena the center of the universe. And I congratulate you, Reyna. You're an inspiration to us all. Your story is so special, but at the same time, as Reyna says, there are others. And so as you, all of us in this room, go about our daily work, let's keep that in mind. Let's find the other Reynas in Pasadena.
So we're going to conclude with a prayer. It is the prayer breakfast. But before we do, I just want to say that we are so proud to be hosting this breakfast, and that we are grateful also to Jericho Road, who had done this for the last 2 years, and so grateful for their being here and continue to support. Hope you had a meaningful time, community time. I'll just remind you there are some cards on the table, comment cards. We really appreciate you fill those out and leave them on the table. For the mayor, please stop by. Reyna's books are for sale in the corner in front of our banner there. So please do. I will say I read A Distance Between Us, and it is a remarkable book. This is just a taste of her story, really remarkable. So thank you for being here, and I want to call clergy, and if there are any other clergy in the room that I'm not calling up here, I invite you to come and to be in the front to just be present with this prayer. But I want to invite Our clergy for the closing prayer, Reverend Taraza Cooley, Reverend Amadi George Hines, who's also a board member, Dr. Rizwan Bhatti, and Rabbi John Carrier to join us, and invite you to please rise. And any other clergy, please come forward.
If the clergy could just line up right in front of the dais and face out. There are 4 parts to this closing prayer, and there's a response in between each part. And the response is, with open hearts, we offer these prayers. We're going to practice that. With open hearts, we offer these prayers. Let us pray.
Gracious Spirit of love that lives and dwells within and between and among us, we are grateful for this gathering today, which assures us that we need not live divided by our faiths, but instead live into the truth that our multiple faiths make this a more glorious city. We gather in love. With open hearts, we offer these prayers.
During this time of war overseas and political divisions at home, we hold up this truth as a path to peace. Respect for others' cultures, ways of living, ways of worshiping, helps us celebrate the truth of creation in all its manifold blessings. We gather in peace. With open arms, we open these prayers.
We ask for your blessings, O Spirit, on the leaders of this city. We offer gratitude for their willingness to serve, knowing the challenges of public service. We pledge our partnership to them, offering ourselves as resources of support and reflection. We gather to commit ourselves to others. With open hearts, we offer these prayers.
May each of us, in our own way and according to our own practice, dedicate ourselves to helping create a more peaceful community. Strengthened by this gathering, may we take this blessing back to our own houses of worship and remind our people of the power and the beauty of living in a diverse and thriving city. We gather as a loving, diverse, peaceful community dedicated to this city we serve. With open hearts, we offer these prayers.
So again, we thank you. We say amen. This is a blessed day, and happy Cinco de Mayo. Also happens to be Israel's Independence Day and a day of prayer. So go in peace and share blessings and smiles and goodwill to everyone that you come encounter with, and have a beautiful day.